morning. We are going to go over some of the key math skills that are identified in Chapter 1. So I bet most of this is probably review for you. You can read through the chapter and the different examples, but I'm going to go through them just really quickly on this video. If you need more of a review, then go into the supplemental folders and look through the videos for each of the different topics to walk you through it. If after the videos you're still feeling really confused, then you need to email me so that we can set up a Zoom to go over it. Do not let the math overwhelm you. I'm here to help you. So just ask. So let's get started with identifying place numbers. Place values, sorry. Place value represents the value of a digit in a number. And it's pretty easy to figure out. So if you have your decimal point right here and you're moving to the left-hand side, you would have your ones position, how many single units, how many tens unit, how many hundreds unit, how many thousands unit. And if you're moving to the right, then it would be how many tenths of a unit, how many hundredths of a unit, how many thousandths of a unit, and then potentially how many 10,000ths of a unit. So let me show you how this works really quickly. If I have the number 3,456.98, the place value here that represents how many thousands there are would be 3. There are 400 units in this particular number, so this is the hundreds number. There are 5 units of 10 or 50 in the tens place, so that's the tens place value. And then 6 single units, which is ones. Here's the decimal point. So then the 9 would represent how many tenths of a number there are. And the 8 would represent how many hundredths of a number that there are. So basically it's just showing you how many of these particular units there are based on its location. So if I had the number, let's say 582.4, okay, we would say that there are 5 hundreds units, so here's the hundreds place. There are 8 units of tens, okay, this is the tens place, 2 single units or ones unit, decimal point, and then 4 tenths of a number. So that's place value. All right, let's look at what happens when you add positive and negative numbers. If you have 2 of the same on the left side of the equal sign, then your answer is going to have the same sign. So here we have a positive 2 plus a positive 4. You end up with a positive 6. 2 positives equals a positive. If you have negative 2 plus a negative 4, you would add them together and you would get a negative response, negative 6. Everything is negative. So if you have positives across the board, you end up with a positive. If you have negative across the boards, you end up with a negative. And just know that in these two situations, because they have the same sign, you would just add across. Now, if you are adding a positive from a negative number, if you have one of each, so negative 2 plus 4, you would actually subtract. Okay, so you would take 4 minus 2, which gives you the 2, and then the sign here would be the sign of the largest number. In this case, the largest number is 4, and it's a positive, so you would end up with a positive 2. Subtraction is a little bit trickier when you're subtracting positive and negative numbers. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to change the sign, the operation sign, and then change the sign of the number you're subtracting. So for instance, 12 minus positive 5, we would go plus negative 5, and because then we would use the rules for addition, we would end up with a positive 7, okay? So 12 minus negative 5, change the operation sign, change the sign in front of the second number, 12 plus 5, that's easy, 17. Negative 12, change the sign, plus, change the sign, negative 12 plus a positive 5, use the addition rules, you would now have a negative 7, because you would subtract and you would take the sign of the bigger number. So you always are going to, when you are subtracting positive and negatives, change it to addition, which means you have to change the sign, so change them both, and then follow the addition rules. Subtraction is the trickiest part of using positive and negative numbers. All right, calculating a percent. If you have a fraction, you would just divide the two numbers. So 1 divided by 5 equals 0.2. And then you would take this number and you would multiply by 100, which would give you 20. Add the percent sign. 20%. Pretty easy. So if I decided to do 2 divided by 4, okay, that's going to give me 0.5. Multiply that by 100. That's where the percent comes in because it's a number given over or as a value of 100. So 0.5 times 100 would equal 50, which would be 50%. So just take the two numbers, divide them in the fraction, and then multiply that number, because you'll get a decimal, by 100 in order to get your percentage value. All right, last thing is solving an equation. So when you're going to solve an equation that has a variable in it, which is just a fancy word for a letter. So here's the letter x, that's the variable. What you want to do is you want to first place all the like terms on one side of the equal sign. So either all of the numbers and then the variable you would eventually want just on one side. So in the end you want to get it so you have a variable, so like the x, our goal is to get the x equal to some number. Okay, so we want to get all of the numbers on one side and just the x on the other side. That's our goal. So by doing that is you're going to balance each side of the equation. So if I have plus 8 on here, I'm going to subtract 8 from this side and then subtract 8 from this side. This will cancel each other out. So now we end up with 2x equals 14 minus 8 is 6. And now in order to get the x by itself, because this is really 2 times x equals 6, we're going to divide again. So we'll divide by 2. We'll divide by 2 because this will cancel that out, because that would equal 1. And now we have x equal to 3, because 6 divided by 2 is 3. And that is your answer. So remember that you want to try and get the variable on one side and all of the other numbers on the other side. And then once you do that, you will eventually be able to do the math to cancel things out on either side to get what that number actually means. And once you figure out what that variable is, you can double check yourself by plugging this number back into the equation. Okay, so if we had 2, we know that x is 3. Okay, so 2 times 3 equals 6 plus 8 equals 14, so you know your answer is right. So that's one way that you can automatically go back and check your work. So those are some basic skills found in Chapter 1, Math Skills. If you have questions, watch supplemental videos, email me, we'll connect if you're confused, and I will help you through. Don't stress. Have a great week.